Welcome back to On the Light. I'm your host, Susan Johnson. My guest today is Victoria Austin, an Iyengar Yoga teacher, Zen priest, and longtime student of B.K.S. Iyengar and Geeta Iyengar. For more than 4 decades of study, Victoria has explored the profound relationship between yoga, meditation, and the human experience, bringing the teachings of Iyengar Yoga into dialogue with Buddhist practice, chaplaincy, and the care of those facing illness, trauma, and death. In this conversation, Victoria shares extraordinary stories of her time with Guruji and Geetaji, stories filled with humor, compassion, challenge, and unwavering precision. She reflects on how the teachings carried her through serious accidents and surgeries, how practice became a means of meeting fear rather than avoiding it, and why yoga remains available to us at every stage of life. This episode is ultimately about what it means to truly receive a teaching, not to simply hear it, but to allow it to transform us over time. Please enjoy my conversation with Victoria Austin. Hello, Victoria.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks.
I want to start by saying how much I enjoyed. I know I wrote this, but you and a group of your colleagues from San Francisco did a performance at the convention in Philadelphia that just blew me away. It was so joyful. For the listeners, if you weren't at the convention, they did an asana type dance to Philadelphia Freedom, the song Philadelphia Freedom by Elton John. And I have to tell you, watching you, it literally brought tears of joy to me because it was such a joyful performance, especially when you did your hands in the air and oh my gosh, I don't know, it just moved me so much. And I've listened to that song in the car several times since then, and I'm always thinking about what I saw and that feeling. So thank you for that.
Oh,
It was-
thank you. It was Miri's choreography. She was a dancer. And
okay.
so, uh, there were actually 8 or 9 of us practicing for that performance. Several people got injured or couldn't come, but
Oh,
those who could come benefited from all of those rehearsals in which everybody contributed something. Like
yeah.
Julia Sterling contributed the going up and down in Prasarita Padottanasana, and then Naomi and I needed, we were doing something extra, but Lori from California Yoga Center was going to join us, and then she hurt her knee.
Oh,
Anyway, there were so many people
hmm.
who contributed to that piece, and then the audience was amazing. So as soon as they heard like da 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 da, Philadelphia Freedom beginning, they were on their feet like yay.
So perfect. It was so much fun. Yeah. That must have been fun for you to work on as you were preparing for it.
Well, incredible. I
Yeah.
didn't get to practice in person with the group because I
Oh,
live in San Francisco and they all live in the South Bay,
oh.
between 40 and 50 miles away.
Hmm, hmm.
But we practiced on Zoom.
Oh, fun.
So we were in a huge state of confusion until the very moment.
Well, it all came together very well.
Thanks
Yeah.
for saying.
So let's start out by talking about how you first came to the Iyengar Yoga method.
Oh, well, how far back in time do you want to go? How many generations back do you want to go?
Let's go all the way back.
Well, let's go back a bit. So, my parents were Holocaust survivors.
Mm.
So, there was a lot of suffering in my house
Hmm.
as my twin sister and I were growing up. We were born in the United States, but everyone from the older generation was a refugee. And they
Hmm.
had been through many countries and a lot of pain, a lot of suffering actually with the pain. The people I'm named for, um, Victoria comes from Avigdor, who was my mother's brother, who sacrificed his life to save hers. And Amy comes from Amalia, my mother's mother, who, when she went searching for Avigdor after he saved my mother's life, got picked up and shot.
Mm.
And then my twin sister's name comes from my father's side of the family. So as we were growing up, our house was a very dark place.
Yeah.
You can read in books like Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning how the people who survived and thrived were the people who were in touch, who stayed in touch with their own humanity and their sense of the universal light and life. But that
Mhm.
was not our family.
Mm.
And so as I was growing up, I started looking for something and I didn't find it really. I found it a little bit in music. So I was in the state band, chorus, and orchestra, and I was also in a rock band, and that's where some of the moves from the performance came from.
Fun.
Bopping to that 1970s music, right?
Yeah.
But what really, how I really started was that I was at a reunion of my rock band in 1971 when it was my first year of college and the band had dissolved when we all went to college. I was the girl in the band, so I had a kind of central place. So my job was to swing my hair around and, you know,
Mm.
sing and play flute and so on.
Oh, fun.
So we had a great time at the reunion, but then on the way back, it was sleeting and another car hit my car. My car became airborne. And
Oh,
yeah, and that moment lasted forever.
yeah.
So I was to tell Guruji about this many years later, and he commented on it and was um, really helpful in understanding this. But at that time, um, I won't go into what happened in the moment, but just to say that when I realized I was alive and that I was lying on the ground with the sleep falling on me, was my first thought was I had to follow through, and then I said something that I won't say in polite company.
Okay.
But when I went back to college, I asked people what happened and
Mhm.
who teaches about it.
Mm.
And the answer I got was from a professor of religion was you have had a religious experience and Zen people and yogis teach about it. And I thought, oh no, 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 I can't. No, 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 no. So that's where I was at that time. But I was, I can't do that. But then I said, oh, I know. I'll just be kind to everyone. And then the very next thing and that was what my conscience told me I could do instead of doing these weird, far in, as I thought, disciplines.
Sure.
But the very next thing that happened after that resolve was that I had to go to the bathroom, and then I didn't have my glasses on, but I saw something white on the counter, so I leaned over to look, and it was my new tube of toothpaste that my roommate had used and left open and then dropped something on it, so it squished all over the
Oh,
counter. And so I yelled her name with such hatred that I thought, "Oh no, I can't be kind to everyone. I'm not a kind person."
oh,
Then I thought, "I know. I'll get my friend who I do political protests with and he can show me how to do that thing that he does in jail when he doesn't have anything to do, and it was seated meditation."
okay.
So he showed me, and then I tried to do it and I couldn't. I
Mhm.
couldn't do it. First of all, I couldn't sit down because I had stiff hips. And
Mhm.
then, so I tried in other positions, and that didn't work either because I just didn't have the fortitude to sit there
Mhm.
for longer than about a breath. And so I thought, I know I can't do that. I guess I'm going to have to go to a group. And so I found a yoga class in the college and started going to that. And then I saw Light on Yoga.
Mhm.
And then I thought, oh, I know, I'll just practice this.
Sure.
So anyway, I tried. Okay, and then I started practicing Zen Buddhism at the same time.
Mhm.
And a few years later, hitchhiked to the West Coast, started living at San Francisco Zen Center, and there was a yoga class down the street. Arthur Kilmurray was teaching at a convent that was down the street from me.
Mhm.
So I started taking that class, and I also took a class with Rusa Chio, who was teaching on my block as well.
Mhm.
Okay, fast forward, fast forward. I get ordained. I go to the monastery. I realize just after ordaining that all of our meditation instructions are geared towards 18-year-old Japanese boys. I'm talking about the transmission of Soto Zen in America. And so I say to myself, oh no, this is hard enough for me, but how about anyone who's not 18 years old, or hasn't been used to sitting on the floor their whole lives? So I
Mhm.
quit the monastery and came back to San Francisco to be trained as an Iyengar yoga teacher.
Okay.
And I wasn't good. I was like the least talented person ever. So Ramanan took one look at me and said, "You have a bad body for yoga." And so I thought, oh no, I can't ever do this. But then we had the convention. Guruji came, 1984. He
Mhm.
donated the entire funds from the convention to the establishment of the Iyengar Yoga Institute of San Francisco.
Wow.
And so the convention was all over the city. It was at a hotel on Market Street, and then it was at over by the water as well, in smaller rooms for the smaller classes.
Mhm.
And Guruji came and helped me. I thought, what? He is helping me?
Mhm.
And by the next convention in 1987 at Harvard, I had been to Pune um, to do one of Geetaji's early intensives, and I just dragged out some of the letters I wrote to people
Uh-huh.
from that time and some of my notes, and I was just looking at them and just trying to understand how I saw it then. 1986, I was 33 years old or something. And so I wrote, the teaching I am receiving at the Yoga Institute is among the best I have ever seen in any subject, anywhere, including Columbia and Princeton. They seem to really care if I am learning something or not, which is unusual in my experience. They are without a doubt complete masters at what they do. Geeta brings tolerance and wit to her teaching. I think it will take me a long time to incorporate what we studied in the past 3 weeks. I only hope I can remember it long enough to practice it. Okay, so 1984, I didn't take any notes, but by the time we got to 1986, I was taking a lot of notes,
Mhm.
which I have almost never looked at since then.
Many of us say that, we take the notes and
Here's another one about the same intensive. So during that intensive, I kind of helped a young man, Neil Stansky, who was one of the early guys who had AIDS.
okay.
And Guruji saw Neil and also another person from San Francisco, Martha, who had a skin condition in the therapeutics class. So this is writing to my husband at the time. The intensive was so rich, I don't even know what I learned yet. This is about a month later or so. No, this is about 3 weeks or a month into it because I stayed. Yesterday I got to actively observe and help out with Neil, the 30-year-old with AIDS. I got a few slaps in the head from Mr. I. It's really compassion. He hits when the person moves too slowly or makes the same mistake twice. But when he turns his back, there is a smile on his face. I think he really knows what to do for what effect.
Mhm.
Geeta has started to touch me here and there to make a point. She doesn't have to do much anymore. My body automatically adjusts itself when she comes near. Anyway, it keeps going. There were many other letters, a lot of them from Guruji, about various aspects as I tried to bring the yoga practice to Buddhism in the United States. So my point was that in this vast variety of citizens we have in the United States, there's also a huge variety of capabilities, and that I needed to understand how to instruct for many different types of people to bring them to the same point. And Guruji asked me about this one time. He said, "Do you really think those people can do meditation?" And I said, "No. But what they can do is sit. And when they sit, everything about them that is not meditating will come to the surface. And that's where this discipline comes in. That the Zen teaching didn't. It was a sudden teaching that talked about everybody's potential, but it didn't give the means or the skill to deal with what happened when there was a separation between that person and their intention or who they could really be.
Mhm.
So how was I going to address it? Well, I started teaching yoga to that group of people and to other groups around the country. And so fast forward, 50 years, 40, 50 years, and now there's a lot of yoga being taught at Buddhist centers. People understand that you have to be able to physically be stable and comfortable. You have to be able to be physiologically regulated. You have to have an intention, and you have to be able to understand the steps and stages to work towards it and what happens when you miss. Because we miss moment after moment. So how do we do that? So Guruji and I talked about that a lot. We talked about the original experience and, the gaps in my life and practice. And he was very open with me. He very concise. I had to take his 3 words and turn it into 2 years of practice.
Sure.
Yeah. But that then he kind of stopped touching me for 30 years, and then after I was in some serious accidents, he adjusted me in every pose every day and taught me directly from mortality all the way through what is yoga.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and Geetaji, so she she goes, "Oh yeah, you think you could help people, haha," And then she was very an example of Geetaji's and my relationship. So one time I was assisting in the medical class. This must have been, I don't know, in the early 2000s or so. I can't remember exactly when. And so, I came in and I was about to put out the halasana boxes for people to sit on and do Vajrayasana at the pillar, right?
Mhm.
But a woman called me over and she said, "Can you help me?" And she was doing Supta Padangusthasana, right? And she couldn't figure it out. She couldn't figure out how to do it.
Mm.
And so I started helping her. And then before I knew it, Geetaji was in the room. And she said, "Who was supposed to set up the chair Bharavajasana?" And and I was like, I cannot tell a lie. you know,
Right.
I have to confess to this. And so I told her, and she looked at me and she said, "So many years you've been coming, and not even one simple thing you can do. Go
Oh.
to hell!" And so anyway, I ran and set it up, and then a few weeks later, I had to go back to San Francisco, and I said, Geetaji, I have to leave. And she was in her apron. She had a wooden spoon. She was cooking for Guruji. She came out and she said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Hell." And she dropped her spoon. I mean, she laughed so hard.
Oh, I love that.
So that she was amazing. She really helped. She was so clear and thoughtful in her instructions, and very, very passionate about what she was doing. If you didn't actually realize what Guruji was trying to say. Yeah, as Prashanti says, what's being taught is not what you're hearing. So if I was in that state, then she would always say or do something. And
Yeah.
so it's that teaching, that actual feedback, that makes the difference between information and understanding.
Yeah.
And that's what she was interested in giving.
Yeah.
So I,
Mm.
I hope I answered your question. But I mean, meeting them wasn't a matter of, oh, hi, shaking hands
Sure.
or putting the hands together or something. Meeting them was uh, that they made contact,
Hmm.
and were willing to actually teach me.
Yeah. Mhm.
And Guruji continued this. I mean, is it okay if I say a couple more things about him?
Please, please, absolutely.
Yeah, so he was willing to, like one time I had endometriosis. I have endometriosis. It's a continuing condition, and it was very active at that time. And my teacher in San Francisco was giving me poses that I found boring because I wanted to do fancier things. So I wrote to Guruji, "Hey Guruji, my practice is boring because I have blah blah blah, and I'm going to so and so, and this is what they said to do." And so Guruji wrote back with a let's see if I can find another notebook. Okay, so what Guruji sent was he started out pretty tame, like
Mhm.
Uttanasana, Prasaritapadottanasana, Parshvuttanasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana, Janushachasana, Paschimottanasana, lower body from the pubis to the diaphragm, extending towards the head, at the same time lower than the sides of the waist. Okay, so we're relaxing.
Mhm.
Inverted poses and cycles with bar support for Shirshasana, high support of mats for Sarvangasana. Okay, so we're extending, giving
Yes.
the opportunity to support so it can open. Then Ustrasana and Laghu Vajrasana with the help of ropes. And then Pashasana and Ardha Matsyendrasana 3. And then
Mm.
like Paripurna. So it's like that was his little dig, right? He
Mhm.
knew what I could do and couldn't do, and what he was really saying with that sequence was, yeah, we're going to start where you think it's boring, and then we're going to continue. So you think this is boring? Try
Yes.
this. Okay, so he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Another thing that he did that was like that was, I guess at the beginning, I was an introductory teacher for 18 years because I didn't believe in certification. So I just stayed an introductory teacher. And then one day, uh, Karen O'Bannon said to me, "You think it's ethical for you to be teaching the way you're teaching and not be certified at a higher level? Go
Mm-hmm.
get certified at a higher level." So I talked to Joan about it. I said, "Okay, so I'm going to assess for junior intermediate one because Karen said so."
Uh-huh.
Joan said, "Sure." And I said, "Could you write to Guruji and ask him what I should do about this endometriosis stuff, about the various things that I'm working with?" And she wrote to him, and he wrote back that I shouldn't assess at junior intermediate one. I should assess at junior intermediate two.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was like 2 weeks before the junior intermediate two test. So Jones said, "He said junior two, go do junior two." But I hadn't studied any of those poses or anything. So I said, "Okay, yes, sir, junior two, here we go." So I did that.
Wow.
Yeah. So he would do things like that.
Uh-huh.
He'd up the ante a lot. So one time, Iyengar Yoga Institute of San Francisco was depressed. There's no better word for it than that. The mood there was a little dim.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him what to do. And we had a conversation, and he said basically that we needed to return to the center of what we were doing and just be there. And I said, "Well, that's the center of what we're doing." That wasn't his exact words, but his idea was that we would be with our reason for being there in the first place, with our mission and our relationship to yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, "Well, how do you do that?" And he said, "Patanjali." And I said, "Oh, maybe I should get a Patanjali for the institute, because we just had a little one that a little ceramic one that is a little bit informal. Maybe we should find a formal one. So can I do that?" And he said yes. And he helped me order one.
Oh.
And so I ordered it. And then when it came, it was a larger size.
Mm-hmm.
He had made it a
Oh,
larger
he
size.
upgraded it.
Yeah.
Wow. Hmm. That's pretty special.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he kept doing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One time, oh, I know. So after the accidents, when he was adjusting me all the time, he would get four big men to hold me up, and then he would play my spine like an organ.
Mm-hmm.
So he would get in there to the different koshas and just keep the adjustment long enough that I could actually orient to where he was leading.
Wow.
And then, every pose every day. Um, so that was another thing.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, he said, "Oh, you got something."
Mm-hmm.
So he kept, and I was not in good shape. I at that on that visit on that occasion, someone was helping me cross the street and get up the stairs and so on. The next time I came was in August 2014.
Okay.
Guruji was in very, very ill health. He had been for some time. So after he received his award in February, his health got worse and worse. And this was August already.
Uh-huh.
And I came in, he was sitting in the doorway facing the institute. And I just really wanted to see him. And so I was just off the shuttle, and I had my suitcase, dragging my suitcase, and I was all hot and sweaty from traveling for 40 hours.
Mhm.
And he saw me, And he just broke out into this enormous smile.
Oh,
And we didn't say anything. I just put
that
my
was
hands together and went into the institute to register. And that then over the next couple weeks, he just got sicker and sicker. So he kept, or worse and worse condition. He himself was facing what was happening with him. He went from a chair to a wheelchair to a cot. And then finally, he went into the hospital.
mm,
And the night he went into he went into the hospital, like I think it was like maybe Tuesday morning or something. But the night before, Pervez called me into the institute and he said, "Do you have $50?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Go get it." And I said, "Okay." And I went and got $50 and I came back. And Pervez said, "Did you have it?" I gave it to him. And then I said, "Wait, what's this for?"
hmm
And Pervez said, "Guruji wants to give you a senior certificate."
Oh my gosh.
And I said, "No, tell him to use his strength for his own health.
hmm
No." And Pervez just looked at me and he said, "When have you ever won an argument with Guruji?"
Oh my gosh.
And so it turns out that the night before he went in the hospital to die, and he knew very well what was happening with him,
Yeah.
that night he gave out certificates to Russia and China and
Oh,
me. Yeah,
never heard that.
he did that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he wanted to do before he went in the hospital to die.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I remember the time when we learned that he went to the hospital and then we learned that he passed. Huh. But I didn't know that. I think that's important for the listeners to hear that he, until the very end, was giving us, his method a way to carry.
Yeah, yeah, he wanted to make sure that Russia and China had the tools they needed to keep going.
Mhm. Wow. It's very remarkable.
Yeah. And then, of course, Pervez handed me the certificate and I hung it up. And then I thought, oh, I don't deserve this.
Mm.
And I started asking, people in my community, saying, look, he gave me this. I realize, you know, um, now I have this senior thing, and people who were every bit as good as me, every bit as experienced or more experienced than me, didn't have it. And so I felt bad. But then we had a conversation. We all had a conversation about it, and people just said, he he did it. Just go with it.
Yeah.
You have that responsibility now. He's gone.
hmm
He's gone, and the only way that he's not gone is if we keep practicing
Right.
and if we keep teaching.
He knew what you had, though.
Uh, I'll never be able to ask him, except I do dream about him.
hmm
It's very, very simple dreams. Like the impression of his touch is very much with me.
Oh, wow. Hmm.
Okay, so that's a long answer for a short question.
It's a great answer. Thank you for sharing all of that. Well, thinking back on your memories with Guruji and Geetaji, how about sharing any memorable moments that were maybe, well, you shared about Geetaji with the wooden spoon, but some examples of maybe their lightheartedness, their humor. They had humor, I know. Um, some of the fun times that you had with them, maybe outside of the practice hall.
Oh, well, you know that Geetaji became an aficionado of Target, right?
I did not know that.
So you know that she taught in Las Vegas.
Yes, I was
So she
there.
arrives in Las Vegas and goes, remember how she said Las Vegas?
Hmm.
Well, it turns out that she spent some of her spare time in Target just marveling at American department stores.
Uh-huh.
So that was one thing. Another thing was how she fought to have women be able to do things like when, for instance, when Guruji died, the custom was that women would not be able to go to his cremation.
Oh.
And so I entrusted John Hayden with some words that I wanted him to say to Guruji. And then the word came from Gita that she had arranged things so that we could come.
Oh, wow.
One of my favorite memories is of the children's class. So when Abhijata and Raya were kids, for instance, um, the children's class was there, and Abhi's father was there, and just basically a lot of the older people would kind of sit around and watch the children's class because it was so joyful. But what
Mhm.
Guruji would do is he'd get his elbows on one of the pelvic swings, and he would just be like this and and just grin from ear to ear. He
Mhm.
loved seeing the children, and also his 90th birthday when
Yes.
we went to the South.
Hmm.
And oh, wait a second. Do you mind if I go get a picture of him?
Not at all.
I'll
Go
be
ahead.
right back. Yeah, fill people in on what we're talking about. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the Patanjali in Belur set up for the occasion. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
and this is how the Institute Patanjali was decorated for the occasion, right?
Beautiful.
And this is that was for Guru Purnima in 2007. Oh, this is an example of him with a kid for Guru
Oh,
Purnima.
uh-huh.
Yeah, the one I wanted you to see is from the 90th birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what happened was we had been walking around, you know, southern India for hours and hours and hours, and it was about, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. We were supposed to have dinner,
Hmm.
and there was a big long show, and Guruji got turbaned and garlanded, and anyway,
Hmm.
he was having the time of his life. And then the show went on and it kept going on, it kept going on. So it's like 11 o'clock or something, and finally dinner comes out, and we're all like this, like,
Yeah, right.
anyway. And this was Gurji.
Just happy, full of energy. Oh my God. He wasn't tired.
Well, he wasn't. He had the joy of a child and the energy of I don't know what.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that was a wonderful example. And also when we walked around, Belur and the Patanjali and the Hanuman, and just the uh, the the work that he did in South India to like the girls' school in Belur, and some of the other things. Like this started with the ambulances in the late 1990s, but he one of the things that I really loved to see was his how he realized his practice just in everyday ways, like sitting around enjoying the kids' class, being in the library, writing his book, um, uh, but also just walking around the place where he came from.
Yeah.
I loved it. And just also his spontaneity. Let me show you something else.
Okay.
This is show and tell.
I love it.
So I'm looking through a stack of Buddhist robes here,
Hmm.
looking for the one. A student, I had, I've been part of somebody's ceremony, one of their ceremonies one time, and they sewed me a Buddhist robe. This robe you're about to see is um, this is like a scale model of the large 7-panel robes that people make
Hmm.
when they get ordained. And this one is a small one. It's a 5-panel robe. Each panel is made from one long and one short piece. And so somebody made me one of those just as I was walking out the door to go to the plane to go to Pune.
Uh-huh.
So when I got there, I put it on. It's supposed to be worn for services and so on. And I put it on. I got there in the afternoon for some reason. Maybe I had to stop in Mumbai or someplace. And so I got there in the afternoon and went down to the library. And Guruji was there. And this must have been in 2003-ish. Because Guruji was editing Light on Life.
Oh.
So I walk into the library and he says, I just got $1 million advance for this new book, Light on Life.
Oh, wow.
And I said, whoa. And what are you going to use it for? And he said, Belur. And then he kind of looked at my robe and he said, what's that? And I said, it's a Buddhist robe. It's for everyday use for people who are ordained. And often the teacher writes on the back of it. And I showed him the robe.
Uh-huh.
And this is what he wrote. Light is life. Keep that inner light burning. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, there's blood stains on it from something, but uh, I didn't want to wash it because the ink might
oh,
come out.
Victoria, what are you going to do with these things?
Well, this is a robe. What I'll probably do with it is when I die, I'll probably be cremated with it.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he did.
Wow.
And then when he came for the Light on Life tour, we were in Davies Hall, and so I gave him like a thank you that's 2,500 years overdue, and just thanked him on behalf of Buddhist practitioners throughout space and time, and and so he appreciated that. I did that on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Estes Park?
No, this was in Davies in San Francisco.
Oh,
Davies
okay.
Hall.
You
The,
said.
the yeah. So
Mhm.
he had been there in 1984, and then he returned in 2005 to that particular venue.
Oh,
And there
okay.
was a big show and, honoring him for
Wonderful.
Light on Life. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So those are some of my memories.
Those are really special memories.
Yeah. I'm not a terrific yoga student, really. But, but something gets in eventually anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about that though. We think that about myself as well, but what you just said, something gets in there eventually. Prashant has talked about listening to the sutras and um, practicing, chanting, whatever, reading. Even he says, even if you're not fully understanding it or even understanding it at all, keep going. It gets,
Hmm.
and so,
Yeah. Even the Buddha taught Shruta Maya Prajna, Chinta Maya Prajna, Bhavana Maya Prajna. So um, Shruta is hearing, but it's not hearing like we politely listen. It's actually
uh,
taking in the words, so memorizing the words, and then Chinta is. And they're all prajnas, they're all wisdoms. They're not like it's a wisdom to be able to accurately hear. So
uh-huh.
we shouldn't be embarrassed that all we can do is work on our hearing, because that's a form of wisdom to know
Yeah.
when we don't understand something and be willing to really hear it and memorize it and take it in. And
Hmm.
then Chinta Maya Prajna is by means of uh, kind of reflecting or checking up on how that truth impacts us when we
Hmm.
practice with it. Is it true or not? Can we test it out and see if it works? And then bhavana, my prajna is by means of becoming, that it transforms us, it changes us. And, I think being Westerner, we often think, oh, I'm going to get this transformation. I'm going to.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens. What happens is that as the teaching settles in and
Hmm.
we apply it, it
Hmm.
applies us,
Hmm.
because it's not just some thing. It's not a thing. It's a living, breathing presence of ancestors and all beings at at this very moment. And understanding our limited body in this way saves our ancestors, saves our accidents and our illnesses, and turns them over to the larger meaning of life.
Hmm.
So you were going to talk about my article, and that's the
Hmm.
point,
Uh-huh.
is that it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters in that we have to adjust our practice, but it doesn't matter. Practice is for everyone
Hmm.
at any time. Even, there was this guy, Brian, who called me up one time. Part of the work I do as an ordained person is to visit sick and dying people.
Hmm.
And so this must have been shortly after I began to teach, maybe in the late 1980s. He called me up and said, I need to tell you that my kidneys just failed and I have
Oh.
less than a week to live. And he said, come over, okay? And so I did. And then I came over and he said, hold my hand. And then he looked me in the eye and said, would you teach me yoga? And I went, gulp, gulp. uh, then I thought, this guy is dying. This is his dying wish. Like my demon is sitting on the left side saying, no, you cannot. And my angel is sitting on my right side saying, this is his dying wish.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to say no, are you?
Right.
And then my conscience goes, okay, demon, be quiet for a while. Angel, okay,
Yeah.
yes, I will
Yeah.
teach you yoga. And so what I ended up doing was teaching his nurse pillow arrangements and how to move his legs, because he had kidney failure. He was all bloated and swollen. The fluid was being drained from him so that he could breathe and not be in as much pain. And but any touch on him was extremely painful. So I had to teach them how to pick up his arms and legs, from the inside of the joint, so that they could be in traction as he moved and
Oh,
have as minimum pain as possible. Anyway, he did his work, and he did his work entirely, and then he died.
hmm.
And I still get chills thinking about it.
Hmm.
And it wasn't me, it was yoga.
Yeah.
I was a very imperfect beginner kind of teacher, translator of this work, but I happened to be the person who was there.
Yeah.
But it was his intention and his sense of, this is coming, the horizon is tilting towards everything.
Hmm.
The earth is falling away, the horizon is tilting, and everything is beginning to appear.
Hmm.
And that's what he did.
Hmm. Guruji often emphasized that yoga is an auspicious subject. How has your understanding of yoga evolved over the years? And then referring to your article in the convention magazine titled Cultivating Freedom with Fear and Pain. I feel like this might display
Yeah.
your understanding of its auspiciousness. And you write about a Binivesha as you undergo this serious double abdominal surgery, as well as the obstacles of dukkha dharma nasyangame jayatva svasa prashvasa. Do you want to talk a little bit about how working with those obstacles, observing them, helped with your healing?
Yeah. Sure. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, what I realized very early on as I was facing facing the paralyzing fear,
Mhm.
was that paralyzing fear was going to be with me because I had been in accidents, many things had happened in my life. The body, as Bessel van der Kolk says, the body keeps the score, right?
Yes. Yep.
So there was going to be a wave of paralyzing anxiety and fear. Um, I felt like I was walking to my doom.
Mm.
Um, I had already been through a tumor removal in my lower body that came about from the accidents of 2008 and 2010. And in that tumor removal process, the doctor had told me to get my affairs in order,
Mm.
that I only had weeks. And then it turned out to not be what he thought, and I lived, but the all of the wounds herniated, and so I had a paraesophageal hernia that was pressing on my heart,
Oh,
plus another set of herniation around my navel where that tumor surgery was. And the challenge was that they were having difficulty finding tissue that hadn't been affected by all of those crush injuries and surgeries to stitch.
hmm.
Everything was lumpy inside. And so that's why I was scared.
Yeah.
I wasn't so scared of dying, I was scared of pain. And I realized that I wasn't going to be able to notice the obstacles because I was too obstacled, obstructed. I was too obstructed to actually be with those obstacles at that point. It was too much of a challenge for my nervous system to handle with that, with those, the slow poison of traumatic uh, anxiety kind of puffing through my system. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be able to notice, oh, I'm being lazy here, or gee,
Right.
that just wasn't going to happen. So I thought, why not look at dukkha?
Mhm.
you know, because it's front and center right now. Why not be with the next sutra that tells you not what the nine obstacles are, but
Right.
what are the four observable things that happen to us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, dukkha, check.
Yeah.
Dharmanasya, check, check. Unsteadiness of body and breath,
Mm-hmm.
yup.
Yeah.
Wow. So suddenly I had something to study.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my invention, right? That wasn't my inspiration or invention.
Right.
When I first came to Pune, in that intensive Geetaji, like hit me on the chest and said, "Lift your chest. How many times? Lift your chest." you know,
Mhm.
Are you sick? It was like, okay, go over there, and it worked.
Yeah.
What she said to do worked.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a matter of, oh, I feel so good or something like that. It wasn't like, oh, my chest lifted, yay. It wasn't
Uh-huh.
like that. It was, wow, I feel a pervasive sense of coolness and responsiveness.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly, here's part of me that I didn't even know that I could do, that I could find on purpose in
Mm.
1986. So in 1986, I was able to experience accidentally, or someone fooled me into doing it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But by 2025, after years of mistakes and checking and studying and receiving feedback and practicing and doing all those things, finally I could recognize, oh yeah, unsteadiness, this unsteadiness. Gee, I wonder what would happen if I put my fingertips on the wall. Would I be able to walk then?
Yeah.
Wow, I can walk then. What would happen if I put two fingertips on two walls? Would I be able to do a yoga pose? Gee, well, I can, and I can keep the pain under a four when I do that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's what those pictures are of, is me experimenting. So the
Mm-hmm.
very first one, I'm lying in bed. It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Show it to the, I don't know if this is going to be on video or not, but
Okay. So I'm lying in bed, and what am I going to do? And I had read in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika that you could practice pranayama at, basically 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m., or midnight. So that in the previous surgeries, that had become my hospital routine already. Start with pranayama,
mm-hmm.
because you can, just like Brian, the guy who was dying, I could have them adjust my pillows
Mm-hmm.
and get me in the position. So there would be a few initial moments of pain, but then pranayama would uh, get bigger than the pain.
Uh-huh.
So the understanding that pretty much what I needed to do was receive the light and energy of the universe and then offer it back and
Mm-hmm.
immerse myself in that rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
um, Immediately changed the entire field. So instead of a field of suffering, it's like Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra. The very first two words of the Bhagavad Gita tells us that the field of Dharma is the field of battle, but also the field of battle is the field of Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the doorway into that? So immediately, after a few minutes of battle, like, okay, there are my stitches. Um, I have to hide, I have to like dodge the pain by changing the support. I have to make it so that I can actually walk out into this field
Mm-hmm.
and not hesitate. but do my duty,
Yeah.
right? Do my duty because I'm constantly being given, if I can only receive it, the
Mhm.
understanding that allows me to do that.
Yeah. Mm.
So that's how my practice evolved, is that I trust it more.
Mhm.
I trust it enough that, if I'm dying, that's what happens.
Yeah.
I don't get a choice about that. What I get a choice about is, as long as I have the capacity to ask someone for help or to arrange myself somehow, practice is available.
Mhm. Wow.
And I think that's what practice has given me. Like, I'm not going to be able to, probably not going to be able to um, put my leg behind my head anytime again soon.
Mhm.
That might take me, although I do want to be like the first 100-year-old to be able to do independent handstand. I think that would be really cool. But because of the previous brain injuries, I'm not, like, I can't use momentum, because when I try to use momentum, there's nothing, my brain doesn't stop me. So it's kind of like,
Oh.
you know. So no momentum. I have to put my hands down and learn how to lift myself up,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of different. So anyway, I do. Um, I'll. I hope I can figure that out by the time I'm 100. But this article was more about the first steps after surgery. So
Mm.
after those two abdominal surgeries, and then I had an eye surgery as well.
Wow.
There you go. We don't get out of this alive.
Well, let me ask you this as a final question, if that's okay.
Sure.
What would you say to new teachers, the younger generation coming up? What advice could you give to preserve Guruji's teachings and legacy?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would quote him. I would say, teaching is a difficult art,
Mhm.
but it's the best service you can give to humanity. So that's one thing I would start off. And I would say, as a beginning teacher, you're responsible for people's safety. Show them your love for this. Show them your joy.
Mhm.
Keep them safe so that they can learn how to do it. Then come back and let me know how it went,
Mhm.
so that we can keep going.
I love that. I do. I love that. Your love and your joy. Show them that.
Yeah, show them. Yeah. And then I would probably, I'd probably applaud, because we need young people. I'd probably say,
Well, that is,
wow, I'm so glad to see you.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. And that's part of this podcast, um, to preserve his legacy. And so that these are going to be there for, well, I don't know how long, who knows, but for a long time for the students and teachers to, if they have the interest in hearing from his students directly, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think I would ask them to talk to their grandmas and grandpas in yoga,
Hmm.
find out what they thought. And so I really appreciate you doing this. I would want them to watch those videos from Michigan and South Africa and England, you know,
Yeah.
memorize those words, see if they're true or not.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I can hear Geetaji saying, "No, tell them to know the names of the poses. Tadasana.
And that
Urdhva Hastasana. Urdhva up. Hasta arms. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Victoria, this has been an honor, and I'm so grateful that you were able to take the time to share with me. It's been really nice. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation with Victoria Austin. One of the ideas that has stayed with me since recording this interview is Victoria's observation that as the teaching settles in and we apply it, it applies us. It is such a beautiful way of describing the gradual, often invisible work of yoga. Transformation doesn't usually happen all at once. It unfolds through years of practice, reflection, mistakes, perseverance, and grace. Victoria closes the episode with a message for the next generation of teachers that I think is worth repeating. Show them your love, show them your joy. In the end, perhaps that is one of the greatest ways we can honor the lineage, by practicing sincerely, teaching generously, and allowing the light we have received to be shared with others. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, sharing it with a fellow practitioner, and leaving a review. It helps let others discover these conversations and supports the ongoing mission of preserving the living history of Iyengar Yoga. Until next time, thank you for listening and thank you for being a part of this growing community. Namaskar.